our hands. Perfect. Right, so we will get underway. So, as you should know, so the World Handicap System obviously is what we're presenting on. As Trev said last week, this has been launched throughout the world in 2020. So most of the Americas, Australia, South Africa, Sweden, Finland are up and running already. And across the world, there'll be a staggered sort of release of the World Handicap System. We'll be going live 2nd November 2020. We are still very much on track for that. So fingers crossed we can get there. I will be going through the technology and the committee procedures today. So two very important aspects of this. So what your roles are as a committee now, what you'll need to be thinking, what you need to be doing, and then of course the technology that's going to underpin this system. And we'll also have a quick look at transition, what that's going to look like, what we might need you to do, what we're going to do, and how that's going to look. Just before I move on to this week's presentation or today's presentation, I just want to go back and mention slope ratings. So after last week's presentation, I mentioned that you could find your slope ratings on the USGA website if you want to have a little look at that. I did say at the time that they're not completely there, finished and done yet. And I had a number of questions after Thursday with some queries on people's slopes, so their pars, yardages and bits and bobs. Just to let you know, just on the pars, so the system automatically assigns a par for the yardages for each hole. So it's nothing to do with your actual pars for your holes, which is why some of you may be seeing that, which it looks inaccurate. It's just how the system works. So don't worry about that. I also mentioned the yardages. So we work on a 10-year rating cycle. So some of the courses which are due for rating soon or way down on the timeline, they might not be absolutely bob on the current yardages you hold because every course has slight alterations over the years. If you do want to send in your updated certificates, then we can feed that into the system. But unless the change is huge, then I wouldn't worry about that. And there's also some questions from people that some ratings are missing on the system. Again, these are the things we're adding in, so please don't worry about that at all. When it's ready and when it's ready to go, we will tell you that the stuff in the system, we think it is accurate, and then come back to us at that point if you've got any further queries. But we're not quite ready with it yet. So if you can just hold off on the questions you're sending in until we tell you we think we're there with it, and then we can address any queries at that point. I hope that sort of sums up on that. Trey, have you got anything to add there on that?
No, that's fine, Sandy.
Perfect. I also say all the 9-hole ratings have come off the system, so they're hidden at the minute, so you won't be able to find them, but we've got all your 9-hole ratings, so they're all fine. Okay, so on with today's presentation. Okay, so the first thing that I want to sort of go through is it's very easy to get hung up on sort of the maths, the calculations, slope ratings, bogey ratings, PCC adjustments, etc., etc. But I'd suggest 99% of the golfers at your clubs won't really be interested in this. The most important thing they need to know is, I would suggest, how to get from their car onto the golf course playing golf. And for many people, that might be a little bit confusing in a minute with slope ratings coming in and course handicap. So these next sort of 4 or 5 slides, I think, are really key to inform your golfers of the real, just simple practicalities of playing golf under the new system. So the first thing your golfers will need to know, or how to work out, is their course handicap. So that's one of the most important things. So each club will need to have a handicap table for each set of rated tees, and that will need to be displayed at the golf club. So for the golfer, they will simply look up their current handicap index on that chart, and that will tell you what your course handicap is. Now, if you're just going out for a casual knock with your friends, no competition, that is all you'll need to know. You'll just look at the slope chart, find out what your course handicap is, off you can go with your pals. If you're playing in a competition, there's another step, so you'll need to get your playing handicap for the format of golf that you're playing. So whether that's stable third, play, etc., etc. So that final step, and we'll go through that a little bit later, how you work out what that allowance is. So here's an example of a handicap conversion chart. So for this golf club, they put the yellow, the white, and the red tees. So they've got the chart for every set of tees there. On your ratings charts, you'll need to be mindful of where you place them at the golf course. So ideally, I would suggest they need to be outside, because if the clubhouse is shut or the pro shop is shut, then a visitor or a member will want to have access to that chart when they go out and play on the course. Also, you might need to make it weatherproof. So potentially you would put this out by the first tee, which is where everyone will hopefully go before they play their golf. All clubs will be sent their rating charts. So there's no need to worry about having to track down information. We will send this all to you. There's lots of, I would potentially go to your sign makers who make signs for your clubs. I'm sure they could put something on, or there is companies out there which make bespoke handicap charts, such as Eagle, you can go to them with your ratings and they will create you a chart. If you don't want to go that far, then you can laminate them, put them on the notice board, just make sure that they're accessible and everyone knows where to find them. So if we try and look at this practically, here we have the slope chart for the yellow tee course for Builth World's Golf Club. So as you can see, the slope rating is 122 if I play off the yellow tees. So if I'm turning up to play a round of golf off the yellow tees, my handicap index was 15.6. I need to look up the parameters on the chart, which includes 15.6. So that would be the 15.3 to 16.2, as you can see down the left-hand side handicap index. And that would give me a course handicap of 17. So once I've had a look that up, and go out on the golf course, if I'm just having a knock, my course handicap is 17 at Builth Wells. I just will also add on that, so a player with an index of 54.0, which is the maximum handicap index, they could potentially have a playing handicap higher than that, so it will potentially go up slightly for a competition. So as I just mentioned, the competition handicap allowance. So if you're playing in a competition, there is the extra step. So once you've worked out your course handicap, you would need to convert this into a playing handicap for the format of golf that you're playing. Okay, so this is a similar idea to the one we've had in the Congoose system, where you might have played off 3/4 or 7/8 or 9/10. So a similar sort of thing, but for each different format, you would have a different allowance. And this next table highlights that. So for the strokes, so individual stroke play, you'd be playing up 95%. So if I'm playing off that 17 handicap at Builth Wales, 95% of that would be 16.15. So my playing handicap would be 16 for that competition. Hopefully, that's fairly straightforward. It might seem quite complicated. Hopefully, that's fairly straightforward. And I would suggest that that's one of the most important parts for your club golfers to know and understand, is how they get out onto that course. Okay, I'll also say the charts here, the allowance chart, that's all in the new rules of handicapping book. So that's all itemised. I'm sure in time you'll get used to the allowance for each individual competition, and you'll get used to working out from what your index is going to be. So hopefully it might be it will be a bit of a change to start with, but going along, hopefully be quite important to work out. So after you've played your golf, obviously you need to submit your score. So after you've submitted your score for a competition, the system will calculate your new index the following night, and you'll be able to access your new handicap the following morning and ready to play again. Now, one thing I'll add with this is the closing of the competition and the calculation of the handicap should not be confused. The handicap will be returned and recalculated regardless of whether the competition has been officially closed. So you won't need to worry about returning to the club on a Saturday night to satisfy your post-competition admin if it's not goal. Okay. So yeah, that was a question we had last year around it being calculated that evening. people wouldn't have to be able to go in on a Saturday and close the competition. We won't need to. The handicap part of it will happen automatically. The competition side of it is something that you can do at a later date. If you have got anything you need to DQ afterwards, and you can do that the following days, potentially this would need to come off of the handicap record, so you can be able to do that within your administrative capabilities, or if it fits the right criteria, the score might remain on the record anyway. Okay. So just staying on the submission of the score, so the score should be submitted as soon as possible after play has been completed. As I said, the handicap calculation will take place around midnight. This should ideally be done by the player directly into the computer system. Okay. The scores must be submitted hole by hole, ensuring that the holes not played are clearly marked. So then the handicap will be updated overnight and will be ready for the player the next day. If a score cannot be added for some reason, it must be added to the player's record as soon as possible, ensuring the PCC adjustment is applied for the round played. If more than one score is posted in a single day, e.g. a multi-round competition, the handicap index would not normally be updated until the next day. So you wouldn't update the index between the rounds. So just to summarize that process, firstly, know your index, so know your handicap index, so know where to find it, either on an app, online, or at your golf club, so know where you can find that. Work out your course handicap, so use the lookup chart or potentially a course handicap calculator. You would adjust it for the format / competition, check the allowance and apply it, play golf, and then return your score. So we'll put the score as soon as possible into the computer. Hopefully, a lot of that is not too dissimilar to what you're currently doing. So it's not a massive change away from what we're already doing. A few different processes, but largely the similar. Knowing your handicap, playing, inputting the score as soon as possible afterwards. And a lot of clubs will be well versed in doing that. Now, I've got a little video. It might be a little bit jerky, but hopefully the sound is fine this week. Just drop a comment if you can't hear this. It might be a little jerky, but hopefully you'll get the gist of this.
What will the World Handicap System mean for you, the player? It all starts with a measure of your golfing ability, calculated the same way for every player around the world. A handicap index that you can take with you anywhere and use at whatever course you're playing. Before your round, decide which tees you're going to play from, which can be different for each member of your group. Every set of tees will have a course and slope rating based on course difficulty. These will normally be available on a lookup chart near the first tee or through an app. Next, decide the format of play. This will determine the handicap allowance you will be given. Together, the course rating, slope rating, and handicap allowance convert your handicap index into a playing handicap, representing the number of strokes you receive for the round, providing you the best opportunity of doing well, whoever you're playing. Some formats of play aren't suitable for submitting a score for handicap purposes. If you're playing a round and would like to submit your score, you may need to check the procedures before you play. If you're ever in doubt about the rules and procedures relating to handicapping, check with the club where you're playing. During the round itself, go out and play, enjoying the game as you always would. Knowing how many strokes you receive for the round also lets you know the maximum number of strokes that you'll receive on each hole. While one bad hole might mean you don't win the competition, you can still submit an acceptable score for handicap purposes. If the format of play allows, you should pick up when you reach your maximum hole score, keeping your game and the game of everyone else on the course moving along. At the end of your round, add up your score, including any penalty strokes and any applicable adjustments for holes not played or where you didn't hole out. When your score is ready, make sure it's verified as required. Then simply submit your score in accordance with club policy. By submitting your score as soon as possible, you ensure all necessary calculations, adjustments and safeguards can be applied, giving you an accurate, up-to-date handicap index ready for the next day or soon after. The more scores you submit, the more accurately your handicap index will reflect your ability. Up-to-date, easy to understand and adaptable. The World Handicap System lets you play the way you always have, as well as giving you a handicap index that will travel anywhere you decide to play. What will the...
Marvellous. I hope that was a good summary of everything I've just gone through there. So we will move on now to the committee. So hopefully all your committee members will be pleased to know that the Handicap Committee remains one of the most important parts of the handicapping process. Obviously the committee that provides that oversight of the system and ensures it's being applied fairly to all players. The committee must be made up of at least 3 people, and ideally these should all be club members. So the Handicap Committee will be provided with information tools for reviewing the handicap index for all members. These tools are designed to create consistent applications of handicap reviews and adjustments. Committees also have an important role to play when setting their terms of competition where handicap restrictions might apply. And we'll talk a little bit more about that later. So conducting a handicap review. So there's tools available for the committee that allow them to undertake an informed handicap review process whenever appropriate. This is to ensure the handicap index of all home members continue to reflect their demonstrated ability. So the software, like it does now, will recommend reports and give notifications to assist handicap committees to identify those players requiring a handicap review. A player can also request a handicap review if they believe their handicap index no longer reflects their demonstrated ability. A player must be made aware of and be involved in the handicap review process and be able to appeal a decision. Wales Golf will be updating the appeals process that we have online, so in line with the World Handicap System new information. Again, the rules of handicapping will go into greater detail around this subject, so I won't go into the real nitty-gritty of it. But the basics of the current Congo system around reviewing and ensuring all handicaps are correct are largely similar. So sticking on the idea of the review, so the review could involve an analysis of any of the following information, so improving play following golf lessons, outstanding performances in formats of play that are not acceptable for handicap purposes, declining scoring potential due to a frequency of playing, aging, or an incapacitating injury or illness. So lots of different factors that a committee needs to take into account when reviewing a handicap. So once we've reviewed a handicap, we might need to adjust it. So how do we do this? Well, any adjustment in a player's handicap must be at least 1 full stroke and can go up to a maximum of 5 strokes above the player's low index. So you can only increase the handicap above to a maximum of 5 strokes. Should a committee wish to increase a handicap above 5 strokes, if they feel that there's extreme circumstances otherwise might happen, then you would need to seek approval from Wales Golf. You'll be pleased to know there is no limit on downward movement. I'll also add that any player with a handicap index of 0 or lower for men or 2 or lower for women must seek approval from the union before applying adjustments. That's similar to the idea of the current Category 1, where you need to come to us for a code, Category 1 players. But the handicap indexes are slightly different now. But again, you must come to us if you want to adjust handicap 0 for men, 2 or lower for women. So an adjustment can be made in one of 2 ways. So you can reset the index, which is the most common approach, and that's is what we would do now. To do this with the new system, we would apply an adjustment to the player's record to achieve the required index. The second option is not currently used and is a new option, and this allows the committee to freeze a player's index at a certain value for a defined period of time. Within the new rules of handicapping, again, there's examples of how to do this and how to adjust the player's handicap. Moving on, so the idea of penalty score is perhaps new. So a valid reason for not submitting a score may include a sudden illness or injury, emergency, dangerous weather condition, or any other reason the committee might deem valid. If the committee is not deemed valid for why a player does not post the score, then the committee can obviously take the appropriate action. Now, an invalid reason for not putting the score would largely be two main areas. So a player is trying to prevent a low score from creating an index decrease, or preventing a high score causing an index increase. So if a committee feel that a player is trying to do that, then they can apply a penalty score. So this can be done. So if the player's score is identifiable and they stop their round after having completed at least the minimum number of holes, the score should be posted for handicap purposes. This could be used after an NR or if the player forgot to post. If the handicap committee concludes that a player failed to submit a score for the purpose of getting an unfair advantage, it should be considered to either withdraw the player's handicap index and/or applying a penalty score. So the penalty score could be a score equal to the player's current handicap index if the player is trying to gain a downward advantage, or perhaps if the player is trying to gain an upward advantage, a score equal to the lowest score in the player's record. And I would also add a committee should consider disciplinary procedures for repeat offenders. If a committee wants to withdraw a handicap index, a player must be notified of the period of handicap index withdrawal and any additional conditions. The withdrawal of a player's handicap index should be applied only after the player has been informed, has had the opportunity to respond. Under our rules, this will be handled by the club initially, and if you were to get to the stage of the player appealing, this could be escalated via the appeals procedure, a copy of which will be available on the Wales Golf website. On the other side of this, we have reinstating a handicap index. The most common time when this might happen is when a player is joining a new club after a timeout of the game. Considerations when reinstating the handicap. So you can reinstate the index at a level that the committee feel is currently reflected of the player's demonstrated ability. You could apply the handicap allocation procedure as if a player was new to the sport, or you could reinstate the last recorded handicap index. It's very important to stress here the role of the committee in monitoring a player's initial scores submitted following a handicap review to ensure that the adjusted index continues to reflect the player's demonstrated ability. Important at the bottom of the page then monitor, always monitor the scores coming in, much you would do with the current system. I should have another video here, hopefully sort of pull that together.
The handicap index should always reflect a player's demonstrated ability. To ensure this, it is strongly recommended that handicap committees review the handicap index for all their home club members at least once each calendar year. When reviewing each handicap index, the handicap committee should consider all available information about a player before deciding whether any adjustments are required. A player's handicap index may be adjusted upwards or downwards. The committee may also freeze it or place a block on it moving upwards for a defined period. Additionally, the handicap committee has power to withdraw or reinstate a player's handicap index in certain circumstances, or to adjust it due to a player's temporary or permanent disability. Regular handicap reviews help ensure the game is played on a fair and equal basis for all members, wherever they're playing and whoever they're playing against.
So the competition committee. So the competition committee must set the handicap limits for competitions and obviously determine who is eligible to play. In some circumstances, a committee does have the power to set a playing handicap for an individual player. This could be if it's not been updated since the last round was played, or there's potentially compelling evidence to suggest that the index doesn't reflect the player's ability. Okay. So consideration needs to be made that the player will no longer have an active or inactive handicaps. Many terms of competition will probably have the line in stating the player must either have an active handicap or potentially have the C status. This will no longer be applicable under the World Handicap System. So a committee will have to assess how they wish to approach this. So you can either leave this out completely and just allow players to play under their current handicap index, or potentially you could put in a rule which is similar to the current rule, which states that a player must have played in 3 competitions last year, potentially over the last 2 years, might be 6 competitions. So there's a bit of freedom here for handicap committees to have a look at their terms of competitions and determine who they feel is eligible to enter. Okay. So that is something that's very much down to the committees, and you will need to look at this under all of your terms of competitions. For multi-round competitions, so for competitions played on the same day or consecutive days, for ease of competition admin purposes, it's strongly recommended that the handicap index used at the start of the competition is used for the duration of the event. This, of course, should be clearly stated on the terms of the competition. Scores should still be posted by the end of each day. Ultimately, it's up to the committee to decide this. So just to sort of summarise what we've whistled through there. So the committees obviously need to ensure scores are submitted promptly after a round or by the end of the day. Processing scores as soon as possible after the end of the day. They're responsible for conducting handicap reviews. They're responsible for establishing terms of competition with information about handicap index views. Acting as the home club or collaborating with a player's home club if you're an away club. And also important to understand your rights and responsibilities, committee as a club, and also the rights and responsibilities of the player themselves. In order to do this, you will need some resources. So you will all be getting sent 2 copies of the rules of handicapping. This has a similar look and feel to the rules of golf. So it will have pictures in there, examples, interpretations, diagrams. As I say, very similar to the rules of golf book, which we all know and love. So just trying to keep that going. We will also be releasing some static posters for you to put up in your golf club. They'll also be available on the RNA website, so I'll check that out and keep an eye on our social media feeds, our designated web page for the World Handicap System, and we'll also be sending stuff to you direct where we can, which will hopefully help you inform your members of the changes. We will also be creating a club presentation, which we can potentially deliver. And we can also do as a webinar or just release as a presentation for you to present to your club members, which will be possibly slightly different to these 2 presentations we've done. Moving on to the technology, which is a very important element of this. So Wales Golf will provide all clubs with a club management system that will work alongside or alone, so we'll either work alone or alongside your current ISV provider. This software you can use to manage your membership and handicapping databases. You'll still need an ISV provider to process competition, social golf scores, as well as run all of your other club systems if you use your ISV for that. All golfers will also, all clubs, will need technology in place to allow golfers to input their scores. This could be touchscreen or a computer, and many of you will just have simple computer systems that you currently use, but you will all need that available for their players to allow timely entry of competition scores. So just looking at the club management system for the clubs. So as I said, every club will be given this basic membership and handicapping software as part of their affiliation to US Golf or the World Handicap System. So that this will allow full management of the membership database and the handicaps. It will also allow much better communication between Wales Golf and the golf club in terms of we can do updated course information and have it instantaneously. So your slope ratings, course ratings, we would feed directly into your system, which you would then authorize or accept. We'll be able to much better help you with players switching between clubs, players that have lost their CDH numbers, potentially getting rid of multiple CDH numbers, players struggling to move between clubs, dealing with suspended handicaps, editing records. So we'll be able to help with all of them factors within this new system. So there'll be great communication between. Hopefully this will make life a lot easier handicapping moving forward. So that's what we'll give the club. Now all players will be given a MyGolf profile. So all players affiliated to a Wales Golf Club will be given a MyGolf profile. This will allow them to track their index, track their scores, also keep up to date on latest news, information, programs, promotion from Wales Golf and Wales Golf Partner. And also there'll be a social element to it to allow them to interact with their fellow golfers. So as well as the web golf, the website profile, all golfers will also be given the new Wales Golf app, which you can see a mock-up of here. Again, this will include your handicap index, will show a progression, score details. There'll be the social media element, so you'll be able to interact with fellow golfers. You'll be able to organise your golf, you'll be able to comment on each other's golf and scores. You'll be able to follow each other. There will also be opportunity for interaction with Wales Golf, so we'll be able to let you know of events that potentially your club, opportunities that might be coming up to you in terms of events, competitions. And then there's also great opportunity for future tech opportunities. So, you know, inbuilt course handicap calculators to this, potentially an inbuilt rules widget to help you on the course when you've got them Icarumba rules moments, a tee booking system, the potential to add a scorecard element into this. So hopefully in years to come, this will really be a key part of all your players' golfing worlds. And that's another look at the app. I'll also mention that the ability to see and track other people's scores is a big part of the peer review element to the World Handicap System, which Trev touched on Thursday's presentation, which is part of handicapping rules. So looking at the transition, so the transition will be carried out by Wales Golf and our technology partner. In preparation for that, there is some things that you can help us with as clubs. So we ask you to try and cleanse your database as best you can. So remove any non-members, any duplicate records from your CDH database. Making sure that this is as good as possible to start with will be really crucial for the success of the system moving forward. So starting with a good database will really help us. One thing I will say is that by no means are we asking you to go out and spend huge amounts of money upgrading your IT systems. But potentially now might be a good time to see if there's anything in your tech that you might want to upgrade. Potentially speak to your internet provider, make sure you're getting as good a service as you can get. Can you upgrade any of your IT equipment? As I say, this is not you must do this, but it might be a good opportunity to do it. I would also speak to your ISV provider. Have they signed the World Handicap System license? Just on that, Congu will be publishing a list of clubs who've signed the WHS license by the end of the month. ISV providers who have not signed the license by the deadline will still be issued a license if they can sign at any point throughout this year. They may struggle to be ready in time for November the 2nd due to the development which needs to go on. They've all had the opportunity to be ready in time, so it might be worth checking with your providers that they are going to be ready. I would also add, in addition to the tech, which we'll kind of start with, there's the opportunity for new tech with this system. So I'm sure many of you that play golf abroad will have seen card printing and card scanning services. So there'll be a much greater opportunity within the new system to integrate some of that at your golf club, which I'm sure that those of you that have used them things will get to testify how good they are and how much easier it makes you sort of signing in and your scorecards in. So there's opportunities there as well. In terms of the actual transition of the handicaps, so the players' Congo handicaps will be converted using scores from their current record. And again, we went through this in the rules of handicapping. And for those of you that didn't see last Thursday's presentation, we'll go through it again this Thursday, and we'll be putting on another rules of handicapping presentation. So this conversion will be based on the World Handicap System calculation. So no matter how many scores someone has on their record, you will get a World Handicap System or World Handicap Index. So we'll be using the scores that go back, the last 20 scores on the player's record, going back a couple of years if we need to. As I just said, players without 20 scores will be converted to showing the scale table, which we've shown in early presentations. There will be a period of time where both handicaps will track alongside one another. So we will release the handicap index before you need to use it. So we're hopefully about a month before. So players, while still playing under their Conquer handicaps, will be able to see their new handicap index and how that is then starting to track, ready for them to go live with it on 2nd November. So that concludes this section of the presentation. I thought I was really whizzing through that, but it's taken about 45 minutes. I gather Trev has been answering questions as we go along.
Yeah,
but
there's some questions.
Trev, if you want to go through anything, then we can do now. So please fire your questions in where you can.
Some questions there, Sandy, that perhaps you're in a better position to answer, because it's mostly regarding the management, our management.
Okay, so Ian, first question. Ian, when the app is up and running, we'll be able to check everyone's playing handicap or only our own. As a club, you'll be able to track all of the handicaps within your system. As a player, as an app user, you will be able to access certainly all of the indexes within your playing group, and you should be able to access all the players in the clubs because of the peer review element to the World Handicap System. That'd be right, wouldn't it, Trev?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
So does the new software manage subscriptions? Will be a membership database. So I would hope that that would be part of it, managing your subscriptions at the club. We will obviously release much further information about exactly what the club software is going to look like, how it's going to work, and obviously give user manuals and guidance on how it works. I hope that's answered that question. Away players' records. As a club, yes, you should be able to get access to that away players' record because it should be as part of your system as well. Anything to add on that one, Trev? I think that's as best I can answer that one at the minute.
Yeah, no, I can't add anything to that, Sandy.
How does the app work with the existing How Did I Do app, or is it meant to replace it? I don't know how the How Did I Do app will look after the World Handicap goes live. The one thing I will say is they won't be able to show your handicap index on the How Did I Do app. The only place you'll be able to find your handicap index will be on the Wales Golf app or the Wales Golf MyGolf Profile, which you'll be able to find online. I'm sure the app, the How Did I Do app, will still be about. I don't quite know what that will look like. But our app, we're hoping, is going to be the go-to app for all golfers to access all their golfing information. Does the new software integrate with BRS and the ISV provider? Yes, the system, so the development of the club software we'll be giving you, the developer, they will be working closely with all the ISV providers who have signed up to the World Handicap System license. So all the systems should fully integrate and work together. If a player is also a member of a club outside the UK, for example in Europe, will their handicap record and scores from there be taken into account in calculating the initial handicap? So I touched on this last week, I think. There is not a world black box yet, for want of a better term. So GB&I, there will be a centrally calculated system, so we should be able to access players moving between Wales, England, Scotland, Ireland, so they should integrate. You should be able to pick up their records. Because there's not the direct link with Europe, I don't know if you'll be able to pick up their record. You will, however, be able to take their handicap index. So if they move from France to the UK with their index, you should be able to just put their index straight into the system. Because it is one world system, it is fully portable across the world. So any player in any country in the world should be able to move country and take their index with them. If a member doesn't want a handicap, will they be added to your membership software? It's a very good question. Yes, they will be in the membership software. I'm not sure of the exact practicalities of what you would add into the handicap side. I would imagine they would just not be issued a handicap, but they would be added into the membership software. Do jump in, and Trevor, if you want to add anything to any of these answers.
Yeah.
When we're live, so we would hope the MyGolf Profile will certainly be active straight away. The app will either follow exactly the same time or it might be just after, depending on how development goes. But you'll certainly be able to access your MyGolf Profile, which also will obviously be available on your phone straight away, and if not before, so you can track your handicap before the launch date. What would happen with events such as Wayfarers competitions that are for players of a 10 handicap or higher? Will it be up to the organisers? A player could play off 10, but at some courses play off 9 and then be ineligible. In terms of your terms of competition, I would suggest that setting it on handicap index would be the best way to go. As I said, the playing handicap will be adjusted, but the best way of setting your terms of competition would be via the handicap index and then letting it adjust as it does naturally. Anything to add on that, Trev?
Yeah, no, that's exactly what I would have said. Base everything on the handicap index, because you'll find that your playing handicaps will vary substantially on possibly some courses, and it would be totally impractical to try and base limits on what your playing handicap would be. So yeah, based on handicap index.
Thank you, Trev. Mike Holland has just written his name, so we won't answer that. Will there be opportunity to put the player's photograph on my profile? Yes, there will be opportunity to put your photograph on your profile. To say it'll be a sort of social media element to it, so you'll be able to comment on your buddy's scores. I'm sure you'll only be giving thumbs ups to your playing friends. Does each player have to work out their own handicap calculation each game? Yes, up to a point. I mean, if your handicap index isn't changing very much and you go into the golf course, you'll get to know, I'm sure, how your course handicap is calculated. So I'm sure it'll get to the stage where you know your index, you know what the chart looks like, and you probably won't even have to read the chart. If you're always playing on the yellow tees every week, you don't play much competition golf, you just wander up to the course. Or if you play lots of competition golf, you wander up to the course, you know what the white tee, you know what your index is. So I'm sure everyone will get used to working out their course handicaps pretty quickly. You will have to make sure it's right for every game, but in terms of working it out, I'm sure everyone will get used to doing that very quickly. Anything to add on that, Trev?
The only thing I say is I'm assuming that where clubs print off scorecards for events, they will already have adjusted the handicap index to reflect the set of tees they're playing, probably. So the only thing you actually need to work out will be the playing handicap, which you do anyway if you're playing match play and better ball and so forth. So shouldn't be too much change there.
Yeah, absolutely. We have some members who spend 3 or 4 months a year in Spain, playing as a society, not as a member of a Spanish club. Can they submit their scores to their home club or for handicap purposes? Trev, do you want to take that one?
Yeah, I mean, this goes back to one of the issues we talked about at last Thursday's session in terms of general play. If you have societies and you have regular events, roll-ups and so forth, as long as every person playing in that event is in agreement, you can state that you're registering to submit your card for handicap purposes. So it's almost like putting in a supplementary score. So if you have a society regularly organised event where everybody is aware that their cards will be submitted for handicap purposes, it's exactly like registering for a supplementary score. What you do with players who don't want to join in is something else. But yeah, that's the way I would look at it.
Yeah. Thank you, Trev.
There's a few questions, Sandy, on the chat. One from Galaxy, or two from Galaxy S10 again. Where can we access the club presentation? Well, that will be on our website in due course. And where can we get our slope rating charts? But you've already dealt with this, haven't you?
Yeah, as I said at the start of the presentation, we were sending the charts out when we send out the slopes. So we'll be sending out the raw figures for the slopes, then be down to the clubs to decide how and where they want to display that. So it can be as simple as putting your logo on it and laminating it and putting it on a poster or a notice board, or you could get a sign maker to make an all singing, all dancing weatherproof sign and put it out on your first tees. So we'll send you out the raw information, and it'll be down to the club to pop that up at the course somewhere and how you want to do it. Moving on to the questions here. So if you normally play red tees, can I submit scores if I play a social game on the yellow tees? Correct or wrong, Trev, but yeah, that's absolutely fine as long as you pre-register as you normally would now, and as long as the tees are rated for your gender.
Yeah, as long as the tees are rated for ladies.
Yeah.
You know, in Pauline's case, and you know, vice versa for men. If they want to play off the red tees, that's fine, as long as the red tees have been rated for men.
Yeah, and I also add that a lot of the courses we're rating now, we're seeing a lot more courses ask for all of their tees to be rated for all genders. So it look more of an ability-based system rather than reds are for ladies and yellows for men and whites for competition. So much more ability-based. We rate all the tees for all genders. And as a player, you would decide what length of course, what difficulty of course is the one that suits your ability, and you would go out and play that way. Fair enough, Trev?
Yep, fair enough.
Will the Wales Golf app replace Handicap Master, which is the system our club uses? We're certainly not looking to replace your ISV. So our membership and handicapping club system will work alongside your current ISV provider if that's what you wish to do. I don't know if Handicap Master have got an app. If they do, again, the same comments before, the Wales Golf app will be the only place that you can view your handicap index. And I don't know what else the Handicap Master app would show on it. I'm guessing you could still have information from the club. Your tee booking systems could still be on another party's apps. In terms of your index, that would sit within the Wales Golf app only. And as I said, our system, or the system we'll give you, will work alongside your ISV provider. So they're working together already, the ones that have signed up to the license, to make sure that the integration is full, working and tested before we go live. Trev, question on hard and soft cap. So could you clarify how the hard and soft cap handicap changes mentioned last week relate to the committee's review of handicaps? Do you just want to touch on the hard and soft caps there, Trev?
Yeah, when the Handicap Committee is reviewing handicaps, then handicaps shouldn't be increased by more than 5 above the low handicap index. That's about it, really. And handicaps must be adjusted in full shots, so that was 1. But yeah, no more than the 5 above the low handicap index. There's no limit to downward movement.
Perfect. Thank you, Trev. Our club currently uses the How Did I Do app for forward booking of tee times for competitions. Will the Wales Golf app have that facility? If not now, then in the future. Our app probably won't have tee booking to start with. We would hope that it'd be one of the things that comes on the future. But I'm sure you'll still be able to use your How Did I app for tee bookings. But that's one of the things we'll be looking at in the future, and that'll be more of a phase 2 rollout. At the minute, we just want to make sure all the basics are there within the app, within the MyGolf Profile, and within the handicapping software systems. But you know, that is certainly one of the things that we will look to add on in the future. We're sort of at the first step of creating a whole new technological ecosystem for our golf clubs. Many other parts of the world, including our provider, are sort of 10 years down the line, and the things that they can do with their technology are brilliant, and we're looking to follow suit with that. And so hopefully it'll be getting a lot better in the years after launch. Will the software be available to county golf associations? I'm not sure on that one. I'd have to get back to you, Wendy, on that. Where can we view a list of the systems that are working with the Wales Golf app? Well, as I mentioned earlier on, that the Congo will be releasing all of the ISV providers who have signed up to have a World Handicap System license. Every single ISV provider who signs up for a license, all of their systems will fully integrate with the Wales Golf systems. It won't necessarily integrate directly with the app. Well, it will integrate with the app, but this is slightly separate. But as I sort of said, everything will work together within the system. That'll be tested from now. They're already developing, be up and running by the time we go live. Does the club have to request a chart for all genders for all tees, or will that provide it anyway? We will send you a chart for all of the tees that you currently have rated. So if you've only got a red tee rated for ladies, a men's tee rated for yellows, and men's tee rated for whites, we will send you the charts for them 3. If you've got lots, we will send you all of the relevant charts that you need. I think we've got more questions coming in the top there. Oh, no. No, I think that is all the questions.
No, there's a few more, Sandy, just come in.
Okay, hang on, let me just clear the ones.
From Pauline and Ian.
Okay. Pauline, the maximum shots on any given hole, i.e. for handicap 17 on a par 5, will be 8 shots. If you exceed that number of shots, what is written on the card? Is it an 8 or a 0? Trev, do you want to take that one?
Oh, if it's Stableford, then it would be 0. 0 points. And you can put 8 down as the actual score. In medal, obviously, if you don't complete the hole, then you're in no position to win the competition. So there will be designation, I think, that will show whether you've actually picked up because you exceeded your maximum shots or not. But then if you're talking about a maximum score competition, then that's different. Maximum score competition you would pick up. well, I'm not sure what the actual gross score you put down, not whether it's elite or zero, and they made a designation in, I think it's Appendix B of WHS, to show what the designation should be if you've actually taken up rather than played out. But we'll get back to you on that one, Pauline.
Yeah. We started the hospital past there, Trev, sorry. Why are Wales Golf developing their own app? Would it not be more cost effective to take an already developed one? Well, in essence, the app we're using is already developed. It's already there. It's already used. So we're just sort of skinning that up in Wales Golf. It goes along with the MyGolf Profile. So the aim with it is to develop a centralized system, which is much easier and simpler for us to administrate, and hopefully much simpler for players, instead of them being able to access their handicaps in all manner of different places and ways. There'll be a very simple centralized system where you can access your handicap information, and then we'll be administrating that.
Can I just go back, Sandy, to a question that was raised last week about abandoned competitions? I'm not sure if we gave a full reply to that, but I've looked into this a bit more. Somebody asked the question, if a competition was abandoned and 60% of the players had finished, would the scores be qualifying? Under the current Congo rules, which is clause 17 and 18, 17.1, 18.7. Yes, those players who have completed, their scores would be used for handicap purposes. But there wouldn't be a CSS. The SSS would be used, and there'd be no handicap increases relating to those scores. Under the WHS, there's nothing in the rules book which addresses directly abandoned competitions, and I've had a word with a Congo colleague, and we may add some guidance notes on that particular scenario. However, my understanding at the moment is that if a competition is abandoned and people have completed 18-hole competition and have completed at least 10 holes, then those scores would be acceptable for handicap purposes. Those in an 18-hole competition who have only completed 9 holes at most, their scores would not be included. Having said that, if you have a look at the rules of golf under Appendix 3, I think it is, it says something like a cancelled round, all scores are cancelled. But I don't think that refers to the handicapping, because rules of golf don't cover handicapping. I think that would refer to results rather than the handicap side. And they do say in the rules of golf that a round should be cancelled only in cases where it would be very unfair not to do so. So we'll probably have a look at that and try and clarify it a bit more under the guidance document that Congo is currently working on to support the new WHS rules.
Perfect.
That last question from Don, will Congo still exist when WHS is introduced? It'll exist in one form or another. It may not be called Congo, but there will be a body which will monitor World Handicapping within GBNI. There'll be no Congo Handicap, obviously, because it'll be the USGA R&D Rules of Handicapping publication. So the Congo Handicap will come to an end. But yet there'll be a body which will monitor World Handicapping within GBNI.
Absolutely. And just going, so Mike has written regarding Pauline's question, in a medal comp, if you're saying you can't take more than 8 shots, surely that's encouraging more NR cards. And now, correct me if I'm wrong here, Trev, but there's 2 aspects to this. So obviously the competition element and then the handicapping element.
Yeah.
A medal competition, if you NR, you are out of the competition. But that might not necessarily, might not necessarily mean the card can't go towards your handicap. So, you know, if someone's within a competition, they won't want to NR because that puts them out of the competition. But from a handicapping element, it could still go into their handicap record. So it's important to continue putting the scores in.
Yeah, I thought Pauline was referring to the maximum score competition rather than a medal competition. Obviously, in the medal competition, if all scores would be reduced to net double bogey in any case,
yeah.
So you don't necessarily need to carry on beyond the net double bogey score. But obviously, you know, some people will, whether they're scoring 10, 12, 15 on a hole. But maximum hole score is a different kettle of fish altogether, because that is basically a Stableford competition. So yeah, in a medal comp, if you want to stay in with a chance of winning the medal competition, you must enter a score for each hole.
Absolutely. Will this presentation be available? Well, yes, it will be. It'll be available. It's already available on YouTube as a presented version. I will put the slides up on our website. We will also put up the recordings of today's session. I'll record this Thursday's session. We had a few issues last Thursday with the recording. So they'll both be up as well on the YouTube channel. So hopefully you'll be able to get this presentation in as many ways as you want. I will also say I'm going to develop a slightly different, or I'm currently developing a slightly different presentation, which will be more aimed at players and club members. So taking out a little few of the nitty-gritty bits, which we're presenting more to the clubs and the committees.
The other thing I would add is that obviously there are almost double the number of people online today that as were last Thursday when we had the first part of the webinar. So those who didn't log on last Thursday for part one may wish to do so on Thursday at 2 o'clock, so they get the full picture and they may answer some questions that they still have.
Yeah, and I will actually follow on from that. Thursday session is now full.
Oh, right.
So we're going to run another one. So we'll sort out, me and Trev will sort out a date and I'll send that out. So a new date ASAP. So if anyone wants to is trying to get onto Thursdays and can't, we will be opening up a new or further webinar to hopefully catch everyone that we can. And we'll sort of keep running these until no one else wants to listen to us.
There's one further question, Sandy. Where do we go to on YouTube to see this?
If you go to the Wales, if you type in Wales Golf, you can find our Wales Golf channel, and then under playlists, so I think actually on the first video column, you can find the presentation, or if you click on playlists, it's under World Handicap System. Should also be a link to it on the World Handicap System page of the Wales Golf website, which should take you straight to the video.
Can I go back to Mike Price's follow-up question from Pauline with the 8 shots and so forth, encouraging more NR cards? Well, there won't be an NR under WHS. Every hole will be scored, whether it's you doing scoring or the system in terms of hitting a net double bogey or a net par if its hole's not started. So there will not be any no returns from now on.
Lovely job. Thank you, Trev. I think we're probably about there with that. Unless there's any more questions, please put your hand up, or if you're typing something, or if you want to speak, you want to ask a question with a medium of speech rather than typing, then put your hand up. If not, then we will finish here. So again, thank you very much for listening to this. As I say, this has been recorded, so we will pop this up on the YouTube channel. We'll pop up a physical version of the presentation in its entirety, so both sections on the website. And I look forward to seeing a few of you on Thursday and beyond if we need to run some more sessions. So thank you for listening. And I will bid you all farewell.